So while I was living as a Zen monk, I heard the story of a samurai who went to see a Zen master, and he went to the Zen master and said, "I want you, you wise old monk, to teach me the meaning of heaven and hell." And the old Zen master kind of looked at him and was like, You think I'm going to be able to teach you about heaven and hell? You walk in here like you own the place, you have no idea what you're talking about, you're a fool, you're an imbecile, I can't teach you anything, get lost. And with this really deep insult of his pride, the samurai draws his sword in anger and rage, and he's ready to strike down the monk, and just as he's about to, the monk says, "That's hell." And the samurai, in a moment of wisdom, he realizes that this Zen master just risked his life to show him the meaning of hell. And so he drops to his knees in gratitude. He puts his sword down and he says, "Thank you so much for sharing this with me. I appreciate it." And the Zen master says, "That's heaven." So what this story is meant to illustrate is that, these experiences of maybe heaven or hell, what we tend to think of as that, can be, at least in this life, experiences of the mind and body, of our emotional state, right? You can imagine feeling anger or rage or depression and sadness, and that's kind of like experiencing hell in this metaphor. But this feeling of immense gratitude and thankfulness and understanding is a feeling of heaven. And so what the story is really about is that your psychology, your inner world, your inner conditions, that's kind of the stuff you experience, right? It's the outside stuff matters, but it's really your inner conditions, your heart, your mind, your body, that shape an experience as good or bad. So in this video, I talk a little bit about the psychology of happiness. We'll keep it very brief. This could be an entire series of books, but I at least want to give you a simple construct and a couple tools that can help you be happier in this domain, the sort of psychological domain of our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. And the construct I'll share comes from a guy named Dan Goleman, who's a renowned psychologist who developed this concept of emotional intelligence. Okay? And the way you can think about emotional intelligence is if IQ is like your intellect, you're brilliant, your problem solving, your mathematics, EQ, or emotional intelligence, is the emotional version of that. And there's really two main components. You have recognition and response. And so that is the ability to be aware of your own emotional state so that you can then better control how you respond to it or how you regulate it. So you can understand those two phases, right? Because if you're not even aware of what's going on, it's like, you ever know someone like that they just have no idea that they're kind of building up and then all of a sudden they just lose it or they shut down. So you have to have an awareness first to recognize your inner conditions, and then awareness brings choice. You can then choose how to address that emotion a bit more intentionally. So how do we do this? Well, let's think about this in two parts. The first practice or principle I want to share with you is mindfulness, awareness. This is really the ability to be where your feet are. Think about it. So often we're not actually where our feet are. We're up here, thinking about our next meeting, our email, what we're going to have for dinner, or we're remembering something that happened the other day, or maybe even months ago that we're still upset about. The mind has a tendency to time travel, but to the extent to which we can cultivate an awareness, which is really the ability to pay attention on purpose in the present moment, to be where your feet are, that will help us to be happier and have more emotional intelligence. Now, a bit of research here. I have a full video on this, which you can watch. It's one of my favorites. There's a study called "The Wandering Mind is an Unhappy Mind," where they basically look at people, huge sample size throughout their day. They ask them like what they're doing and if their mind is wandering or if they're distracted or if they're more present. What we find is no matter what you're doing, if it's good or bad, or what your mind is wandering to, whether it's good or bad, you are happier when you are fully engaged in the present moment. Because you may be thinking, well, what if I'm doing laundry, which I really hate, and I'm daydreaming about a really nice hot fudge sundae? Even then, this study suggests that it would be better to be where your feet are, to try to be present as you do the laundry. So how do we do this? Well, this is really, I'd encourage you to consider a daily meditation practice of some sort. Because so many people think they can't meditate or meditation's not for them because their mind's always going. No, you're not going to shut off the mind. Meditation is really about stepping back from the mind stream and letting things pass through your awareness. So imagine this, you're sitting there and you're trying to focus on your breathing. Within 30 seconds, within 10 seconds, your mind's gonna wander off to something. You bring it back to your breathing. Mind wanders off, you bring it back. Mind wanders off, you bring it back. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. And every time you bring it back, almost think of that as doing a repetition. You're strengthening your musculature when it comes to being where your feet are, coming back to your senses, and being there in the present moment. So if you want to try meditation, start with 5-10 minutes. Just pay attention to your breath going in and out, or try a mantra, which means silently repeating a phrase to yourself over and over again. Presence, happiness, 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 presence, presence, whatever your word is, doesn't matter. And what's going to happen is your mind's going to wander off. Every time you bring it back, have an attitude of celebration, of accomplishment, of I just did the thing, right? Kind of like if you go to the gym, you're maybe there for an hour, but you're only actually physically moving the weight for a little bit, right? Same thing, you might be sitting in meditation for 15 minutes, but it's every time you notice the mind has wandered off, you come back to your awareness of the present moment, that you've just strengthened that muscle, okay? So there's something you can try. Now, if you start to cultivate this awareness, which, again, can be done through journaling as well, meditation, even just simply learning to label emotions and thoughts and feelings as they arise within you, from there, we can think about how to regulate them. And my message for you is you have way more power to control your emotional and psychological state than I think you realize. Simple example I often talk about is applying antidotes, which means just like if you have something poisonous that bites you and they give you an antidote, you can actually apply antidotes to drive out the negative emotional states you're experiencing. So think about this. There are both mental and physical antidotes. You can change your focus or your thoughts or change your physiology. And I'll give you 2 real quick examples. So maybe if you're watching this video, if you're not driving or something, you can do this. Close your eyes for a second and just try in your mind, think of everything that you could see in your vicinity that was the color green. All right? Got a couple things. Now open your eyes and look for green. I'm seeing this plant in my background, the 2 green dots right here, a painting over there that I didn't even notice, a book on my desk that I didn't notice was green. If you actually do this exercise, you probably see a whole lot more that's the color green, right? So just by shifting your attention, you can shift what you see. Now, imagine if you were to do this for, hey, think of a few things you're grateful for. Now actually do this. Think, maybe you can close your eyes if you need to. Look around, think about your life, think about your health, think about wherever you are. What are some of the things you have to be grateful for? What's going right for you right now? I'm like, actually, this is one of my favorite sweaters, which is a gift. I really like it. I love this little Buddha statue I have over here. I have a full kitchen and a car, so I have food and transportation and money. What a concept. 90% of people in the world don't have all those things, right? All of a sudden, I'm feeling pretty good right now. So you can probably start to feel maybe a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of joy or appreciation. So if you're feeling stressed, anxious, angry, just like you looked for the color green, you can just, what do I have to go right? What do I have to be thankful for? What's going right now? And now that's a mental antidote. Here's a physical antidote. Follow along with me. I love to teach this one. It's one of the most simple strategies you can use to immediately shift your state and your nervous system. And if you've been with me before, you've probably seen this, but it's called a cyclical sigh. So you breathe in through the nose, take a second double inhale at the top, and slowly sigh out at that 2-to-1 ratio. When you exhale longer than you inhale, it's a down-regulating or calming effect. So imagine if you are feeling stressed or anxious, follow along with me, breathe in through the nose, double inhale at the top, and then slow. One more time, go ahead. Feels pretty nice, doesn't it? So just by changing your breathing, changing your expressions, changing your body and physiology, you can change your mood. And actually, same thing, if you apply that inverse and you go, that's a way that you can excite yourself a little. Be careful, you don't want to faint. But right there, all these things physically and mentally we can apply antidotes to. So whenever you're experiencing a negative emotion, first, think of an awareness of what am I experiencing right now? How am I feeling? What are my thought patterns, right? That ability to step back and pay attention to what's happening within you in any given moment. And then what would be an antidote in this situation? How could I change my focus or change my physiology, and you can really master your emotional state. It's not always going to be easy. It's not a simple magic fix, but you can cultivate this dimension of your psychological health, your mental health, and help you to be happier. And of course, there's a lot more I could teach under this bucket of psychology as it relates to happiness, but this initial construct, framework, and tool set, I think will really take you places. So this video is a part of a series I'm doing, the Happiness PhD course, which you should check out. But I thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.